Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. We are looking at the DraftKings 11-game main slate here today, James. You were on the Playbook. Kind of an interesting day in terms of guys that are in the lineup, out of the lineup, matchups that we're looking at, where the value is. We'll talk about ownership here today. Guys who are highly owned, despite maybe where you're looking, but where we're looking, they're highly rostered today. Just the way we're going to be building rosters around those guys this morning, we saw some value that we were like, I don't really want to go there. Just did an update, and we'll get the update live on Fantasy Alarm after the show. Some new names popping up there as your top value and top rostered plays overall today. A surprising spend up that is not really projecting out all that well. Also something we're going to talk about. So a lot to go over in the next hour. We certainly appreciate all of you guys tuning in with us today. It would be a tremendous help if you could hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe button. Free way to support the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel and the show that we do here each and every day for you guys. We come here live 5 o'clock to get you all ready for the main slate Monday through Friday. So just a little hit of that like button is certainly appreciated. Got Faisal in the chat. Happy Friday to you, my friend. Guys, feel free to leave comments in there. We'll throw them up on the screen. We'll help you guys set your lineups. If you got any betting or pick'em questions, we got my articles out on Fantasy Alarm ready to go as well. James, let's dive into it. Let's talk about some of the top matchups today. In terms of spreads, do we have any notable games that you're just looking to target?
Yeah, Indiana Charlotte is definitely top dog today. 235.5 over under. Indiana giving 7 to Charlotte on the road. That game should be really fun. 2 bottom 10 defenses in the NBA. So love that game. 231 Golden State Cleveland. That might be the best, like, just pure basketball game tonight, considering Cleveland's the last undefeated team in the NBA. And obviously Golden State coming off a massive win in Boston. It's interesting that game has a 231 implied total because both teams are top 10 in defense right now. So just kind of like how the Boston game was the other day. Once those offenses settled in, they both scored a lot of points after a slow start. So 231 in that game. Golden State getting 4 on the road. We have 232.5 Phoenix Dallas. That also could be probably the best game of the day. Another game between two elites with really good defenses this year. So again, interesting to see how the total currently projects, right? Love that game. Obviously, Dallas a little banged up right now.
Yeah.
And then Washington, Memphis, a game that, for anyone that watched the pre-show, you and I were super high on, and that's seemingly going to be the case, when you're looking at rush chips tonight, just how at least Memphis is projecting out in terms of ownership. Memphis is getting a lot of the ownership in that game. Maybe a place to take advantage of for Washington, but 231.5 implied total. Memphis giving 7.5, and they're giving 7.5 without like 3 starters. So it's interesting to see how that game will go. Those are the 4 best games. We do have 2 more. So we have an 11-game DraftKings slate. We have a 13-game FanDuel slate that are including the Clippers, Kings, Lakers, 76ers. So if you do have questions about those games, don't be afraid to ask. Playbook is out now. Right before we hopped on, I just updated the core plays. I was waiting. We didn't get any information, basically. So I just went ahead and added my core plays into the Playbook. But that's out now on fantasyalarm.com. So go check that out.
Yep. We go position by position here. For those of you who are new to the show, first, welcome. Secondly, we do break down each position. I'll build a lineup at the end of the show here as well. So make sure you stay till the end and check out where we're going to go with our roster construction for today. Point guard position, Luka Doncic, $11,600. Trae Young, 10-4. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 10-1 as your top 3 priced point guards on the slate. One thing we noticed this morning is that no one's really getting to either of these 3. Luke is your highest rostered play, around 10-11%. Trey and SGA under 5% rostered for today. Certainly can create a little bit of tournament leverage if you want to go looking to spend up here today. In terms of like overall spend ups, there isn't, and this happens with 11 game slates. There isn't like a primary spot, but high price guys, there's no one that's really like jumping off as like the clear cut DraftKings chalk spend up today. It's pretty evenly distributed, and then a lot of fair and balanced builds today.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with like the spread out ownership because there is so much value. I get it in some instances. Like I kind of thought that Jokic's ownership would be lower than normal because the good value at center specifically, and like something we've talked about, using two centers is not the best for your lineup, but you can obviously if you want to get one of the value centers plus Jokic. But it is a little interesting to see like Luka not getting any and Tatum really not getting any. And I mean, what is the highest roster is Jokic at 11 projected percent.
And give or take, like a few percentage points. And obviously in single entries, these tend to be a little bit higher, as well. So, mass multi-entry is kind of where we're looking at for the rostership here. Still a couple hours, anything could change. Someone could get ruled out or randomly questionable. And, we've seen that happen a few times where you get within an hour or hour and a half, 30 minutes of roster lock, and all of a sudden, oh man, this guy's now getting 5% more ownership. And you have to kind of lean in that direction. But Luka, Trey, and SGA, Luka is your highest of the three. The next tier down is where it gets a bit interesting. Lillard, $9,700, has been going nuclear lately. Has this matchup against New York. Nobody is playing the Bucks today. LaMelo Ball, you sent me a message earlier today asking if I knew what the usage rate percentage was for LaMelo Ball with Bridges off the floor. I guessed 55. I overshot it. 44% was the usage rate for LaMelo. $9,600 in his matchup against the Pacers. Brunson, Cade, Curry, kind of that next tier. Obviously, Curry came back, played 34 minutes. We think Boston has a good defense with Cade, with Drew Holiday and Derek White. They shut down Trae Young the game before that, and Steph gave us a vintage Steph performance. So, of that next grouping, where do you find yourself looking to go?
So on the top, Luka is for me far and away better than the other two, and I'm not really getting to either. I think Trey. I think they're listed properly. That's how I'd rank them. The next tier, I'm getting to LaMelo Ball. 10% rostership going towards him. He's going to be super low owned. No Miles Bridges. We know about their front court depth is depleted as well. Like we don't technically know what they're going to do. It seems like Grant Williams would start. At least the ownership suggests that Grant Williams is going to start. And you said it. I mean, 1.5 fantasy points per minute to go along with the 44% usage for LaMelo. And this is, per Vegas, the best game on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, 235 implied points, 2 bottom 10 defenses in basketball. It's just a very appealing spot. Neither team is playing particularly fast. Indiana's slightly above league average. Charlotte's slightly below league average. So a little pace up spot for Charlotte, but definitely not the Indiana of last year, right? Like they were first in pace for basically the entire season.
Yeah.
The Siakam trade actually slowed them down. So, I'm definitely in on LaMelo Ball amongst like all these other names. I like Dame in tournaments. Even Dame said like, when I'm locked in, you'll know. And like, we know, we get it. You're locked in.
Hasn't missed in 3 games.
Missed in 3 games. Brunson is getting like higher ownership than I anticipated. He'll see Andre Jackson defense for sure. Andre Jackson 6'7". Like that's, we'll see how if Jackson can't stay out of foul trouble, well then advantageous spot for Brunson.
Sure.
Cade getting Dyson Daniels treatment. I've seen some Dyson Daniels first team all defense hype today.
Cade actually the highest ownership of this group here that we've talked about so far.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, one, he's obviously discounted from everyone. 2, the assumption that Atlanta's bad defensively isn't wrong, but there was also a chunk of games missing where Dyson Daniels didn't play, right? Yep. And when he came back, he was also limited and then 36 minutes shuts down Brunson the other day, and also no Jalen Duran today. So like you assume Cade is going to continue to attack the glass the way he has.
Yep.
There's no reason. I mean, he has the ball in his hands. His potentials are off the charts.
Back-to-back triple doubles, right? Obviously drawing people into him.
Bingo. So, I mean, just the way the minutes and the peripheral stats shake out, he's gone 7 of 17, 9 of 23. It's not like he's shooting like lights out. He's just gotten there because the triple double. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. And, that'd be a reason why I would spend a little more to get to like a LaMelo Ball personally. But yeah, I understand Cade. He made the playbook today. And then Curry, my opinion has not changed on Steph Curry. If you want to play him in a tournament, he could go nuclear and break a slate and be like, yes, Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. But is he like a priority for me? No. Is that a mistake? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, they said the Warriors Celtics game was the most watched NBA game of the year so far. So,
yeah, unfortunately, NBA, a lot of the numbers are down this year. And a lot of it has to do with reports about like nobody knows who the next LeBron, Steph, KD is going to be, right? Like we still haven't gotten that figure in the NBA. So,
I mean, there's a lot of great young talent.
A lot of amazing young talent. Not saying that. I'm just saying that's like the reporting on.
They can't figure out which marquee name to throw on the primetime game, basically.
Yeah, I think this is why the starting five or whatever the documentary is coming out. I think they're trying to
introduce us to.
We're trying to. Yeah, I think yes. Like Anthony Edwards being on the first season, right? Like that makes sense.
Yep, agreed. All right, so next tier down of starting point guard. Some of these guys we'll talk about at shooting guard. Halliburton is $8,100. So obviously, again, we've talked about that pricing for him. Definitely feels cheap. Jamal Murray, do we have an update on him? Still questionable for today. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, Russell Westbrook has been really good in his stead. Simons, Jalen Suggs, $7,300. Derek White, $7,200 here. Van Vliet, $7K.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of interest in this tier. It's fine. Like Halliburton 81 is fine. Little tidbit here, John. He has shooting guard eligibility on FanDuel, so maybe a little more appealing over there, where you can play him at multiple positions. I'm indifferent about it. It's obviously a good spot. The shooting woes have been a concern. At least the volume hasn't been there very often. Derek White is great, dude. He has. I was looking at it today. 21% usage on the year. It's a 28% usage with Jaylen Brown off the floor. I mean, it is night and day with Derek White when you remove these guys off the floor. When one of their like big three offensively is off the floor, and two of them are not there, Porzingis and Jaylen Brown. So I like Derek White 72. You just have to, and you don't have to have this game stay competitive. He scored 44 fantasy points in 30 minutes. You just obviously want the minute ceiling that Derek White can provide if you play him. Because like when you go down the list, like I think Scottie Pippen for cheaper can provide a pretty solid minute ceiling just given what is available or what isn't available rather for Memphis.
And obviously where the chalk is today as well.
Yeah. And it's good. I mean, it's good chalk. It's a great spot against Washington. This game is elite. He doesn't have Marcus Smart there to like start. Like I mentioned on the pre-show, but like the last time Ja was out, we didn't get him in the starting lineup because they had Marcus Smart and they could just play Marcus Smart at the point guard. They don't have that. The only potential other thing they could do is run like a Luke Kennard, who's only been back for one game. We still don't have official word on Conchar. He could technically operate as like their point guard, but either of those things are likely. Scottie Pippen just seems locked and loaded for 30 plus minutes. And like, we've also seen him close blowouts this year. So like, it's not like Scottie Pippen. I know he just signed his he's has a standard contract and everything, but he also could close if the game's not competitive, which I think Washington's been fun enough and good enough with all their young talent to keep it competitive. But I think Pippen at 65, makes a ton of sense.
No Jamal Murray today, as that ends up being the case. Would you rather Westbrook or Pippen Jr.?
Oh boy. I feel better about Pippen safety wise. I
Okay.
think Russ obviously has not obviously because we've seen Pippen go for 40 a couple times, but like he just went for 29, 6 and 6. And like that's just like not a lot of people can do
Sure.
at this like price range, including Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is great peripherally, but with like everyone else healthy, is Scottie Pippen going for 29?
Yeah.
Or like the upside to get 29. So like I think Pippen is safer. He also has like the infinitely better matchup, but
Sure.
yeah, I mean I think Westbrook is fine in tournament. So um
Well,
probably an ownership
nobody's
thing.
playing Westbrook right now. It's complete because all of the ownership is going to Pippen at the same price
Right.
point. So nobody is playing Westbrook. That may change if we get an official out on Jamal Murray. Could see some updates go to Westbrook's way there, but both of those guys in spots here. You got Jose Alvarado coming off of a ceiling game as well, $5,700, 46 fantasy points. He's been really good, anyways, since entering the starting lineup. Where does someone like an Alvarado come into play for you? And if you're looking at guards under $6,000, you have Alvarado, you have Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard's in this range, Trey Mann, someone that could be seeing some additional minutes tonight. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean Alvarado at 1% is highly intriguing because um I understand Orlando's good defensively, but like in order for the Pelicans to keep this competitive, like they need to continue to get these performances from Alvarado. And when you take the guys off the floor that are off the floor in CJ McCollum, Jordan Hawkins, and Herb Jones, and just the list goes on. DeJounte Murray, he's a 22% usage player, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. I mean, those are really good numbers for a guy at sub $6,000.
Yeah.
So um, I have absolutely no problem if you get to if like you land on Jose Alvarado because again he's 1% in tournaments, and I think people are we're not we're just like well it's Jose Alvarado, right? Like he's not great, but like he's been very good since
Yeah.
entering the starting lineup.
Double
So
digit shot attempts in every game, 7-9, 7 threes, and 8 3-point game here in terms of attempts, which is what you want to see. And we know the defensive numbers and assists are going to be there. So I like him as well in that range. Value guards for you? Anybody pop out?
so I like Dante DiVincenzo 5K. I know you mentioned like Holiday, Man, Pritchard, they're all
Yep.
fine. But I like DiVincenzo. You know, probably going to close over Conley if he plays well again, and they just continue to like kind of play Mike Conley in the mid 20s, and that's like Mike Conley's doing his thing, right? No problems getting to Mike Conley either, but I just think DiVincenzo normally has the higher ceiling. I say that, and Conley went for 14-11 last night, but DiVincenzo looks really good now that the shots are falling. He has a really really good ceiling. So I like him. I'm always interested in Amen Thompson for Houston, just going to play mid 20s minutes as like a baseline. And then if he's playing well, there's 30-minute ceiling. And like he's smashing every night right now. So no one's going to play Thompson. I do think that there's merit to going back to Andre Jackson tonight. The field is not.
No
And
one's playing him yet.
I think it's interesting because like I understand you don't necessarily need to, right? Because there is a ton of value on the slate, and he is a low floor guy. But with the Gary Trent injury popping up, I mean, it's just like solidifies his minutes as
Yeah.
long as he can stay out of foul trouble, right? Like his minutes are basically secure, starting potentially for 30 minutes, 25 and 28 the last two games.
Well, you know who's getting some love tonight as like a forward is Xavier Tillman with no Cornet. He's stone cold min at 3K. So
Sure.
you get some people in there taking the stone cold min 3K Xavier Tillman, and there's a chance he gets some extra minutes. We saw earlier this morning KCP at $3,600 was getting some early ownership love. That has since subsided a bit, but as I said, nobody is playing the Bucks today. Second leg of a back-to-back in New York. Yeah, I mean, listen, we know what happens if he doesn't have 4 steals in that game. You're looking at 10 fantasy points, right? 13 fantasy points. So, you needed the defensive stats. The shot volume is not going to be there for him. So I understand I think the hesitancy and why on a larger slate, less people are finding themselves plugging in Jackson here.
I mean, he's still 17. He was still had 17 fantasy points, 17.25, which 3,400 gets you there. You're playing a guessing game with Xavier Tillman, right? Like, why would we play Xavier Tillman over a guy that's for sure starting versus Xavier Tillman? The Celtics could just give Sam Hauser more minutes and give Jordan Walsh, who we saw play last game, more minutes, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying Tillman's not in the rotation. I think I projected him like 10 minutes, but is there a scenario that Xavier Tillman doesn't play more than 10 minutes? Or like, is like they could extend Neemias Queta, they could extend Horford. Like, they don't need to go double big.
Yeah, they could definitely play Horford at the 5, and that's where like I think the obvious pivot would be to what you're saying, right? Like, unless they're set on Horford playing the 4, which maybe they are, because I think the idea is like, well, if Queta gets in foul trouble, then there's obviously a chance that Tillman gets in the game and plays some backup minutes, because Kornet was playing 15 minutes, right, as like the backup 5 on that team, when the 2 games that we saw Queta. So I think that's kind of where the thought process is.
Sorry, I just got distracted by Chris saying "Go Dodgers." Chris is now my least favorite member of our of the family. So
yeah,
thanks,
our guy Don in here with a new logo, a new name. We got, when you find a player that will give a high score, do you pair him with someone or do you leave him by himself and find value in other players? I mean, is this like reference to like Memphis today, where we think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to give us a high score and pair him with like Scottie Pippen or something? Like, what do you mean? Give us a little more idea there.
Yeah, we definitely need a little more from that. But like, if you're talking about like stacking, we don't need to. But like, if teams are shorthanded, it could be like it's a viable approach.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what are we doing with Delano Banton?
We're going to shooting guard.
All righty, 3,400. Remember you said that. Shooting guard we got.
Shaedon Sharpe not on the injury report today. So
he played yesterday.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I feel like there was a better path to more minutes for Delano Banton if there's no Shaedon Sharpe, but Shaedon Sharpe not showing up in the injury report.
Yeah, I agree. Chris says Fox, Halliburton, Brunson, and Mathurin. First of all, I'm happy that you got to play that Kings Lakers, Kings Clippers, one of the two. Matchup there.
Yeah, Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine going there. I like Mathurin a lot today. We'll talk about him in a second. Yeah, that's fine. Shooting guard, Anthony Edwards, the top price shooting guard at home against Portland here. I got Booker and Irving battling each other. Donnie Mitch, Jordan Poole, $7,900. We didn't talk about Carrington at point guard, but Jordan Poole, $7,900. Jalen Green, some good 7K and above options here. You've been big on Jordan Poole this season. Is this a plug and play Jordan Poole spot?
I wouldn't say plug and play, but definitely an option. I mean, he's been very consistent. The minutes have been, I feel like we're leaving a little meat on the bone with Jordan Poole minutes. I feel like we could get a little more than 30, like low to mid 30s. I feel like 35, 36, maybe. But nevertheless, he's been super consistent. The scoring has been great. The peripheral stats have been great. You pointed out he has 2+ steals in every game this year, which is not something I think we expected from Jordan Poole, but it's been pretty consistent. This is a fun game. So yeah, I think Jordan Poole is great in tournaments. Not like plug and play. He's in my playbook and not in my core play section. How about that?
Yep, that works. All right, where are we doing at the top of the tier outside of Poole? Any one of these more favorable to you than the others?
Ant.
Okay.
Lone.
Anybody else? That's it?
No, I don't have. I'm indifferent about everything else up here.
Okay. The Irving Booker matchup's kind of interesting to me. I think in tournaments, one of those two could be the difference maker. Obviously, dealing with Durant and Luka having the ceilings they have, but I think both are kind of interesting in my opinion, kind of going against each other there. mid-tier than shooting guard? Any of these guys stick out to you more than the others?
We talked Derek White, Tyler Hero, vastly underrepresented in ownership. He has been Miami's most consistent player this year. He's been great. He's shooting lights out from three. Everything really peripherally has been great. The minutes. So Hero, Derek White would probably be the two guys for me in the mid tier. I think
thought you were gonna go right to Ivy because your guy.
I'm a little worried about that like little calf knee issue that he had last game. I'm not against it. For me, I'd almost rather play Brandon Miller at the same price and better positional eligibility. He's missed all of his shots this year. He has not shot the ball well, but they're missing a lot of players, and I do think that we're going to see 29 minutes grow to mid 30s. We're talking about a guy who has only played 4 games this year, and one of them he got hurt in, and one's been a blowout. So he hasn't really had the chance to get extended. So I think mid 30s minutes is in the cards for Brandon Miller, who's just a super high upside scorer. And then I'm just going basically down to the 5K tier, and I'm living here. Bub Carrington, 55, you mentioned. If the shot volume remains the same, then Bub Carrington has an extremely high ceiling. Will it? I don't know. But I do like the price. Obviously, the minutes have been great, the peripheral stats. So I'm willing to take a shot on Bub. But Ben Mathurin has far and away been one of the better, more consistent DFS plays. And I feel like this is potentially like suicide going here, just like banking on a Rick Carlisle player that isn't like in Rick Carlisle's trust circle, like Siakam or Halliburton, basically. But man, there's no denying Ben Mathurin. Every single game that he's been extended this year has smashed. I mean, and it's interesting because like we saw the ascent of his price. He goes for 50. His price jumps $700. He goes for 31, still smashing at price, and we're losing dollars again. So like, I'm very, very interested in Ben Mathurin, 5,400. Great eligibility. The minutes have been great. Ooh, that's
Devin Booker now questionable with an illness.
I mean, that changes a lot of things.
That would change a lot of things if Devin Booker is not active tonight.
Bradley Beal, 63. We kind of just like zoomed past him. It's been nothing more than just steady Eddie.
Devin Ryan Booker. Dunn listed out, so there's some more Suns news there.
Beal has been good, not great, but he would obviously look really good at 63, shooting guard, small forward.
Give Tyus an extra peak now?
Yeah, he's cheap. He's really, really cheap. You would give. We're gonna get to small forward. There's 2 small forwards. Actually, where is Grayson Allen's right here? 4K.
Grayson Allen would probably enter the starting lineup.
Between him and Royce O'Neal, one of the 2 we'd have to assume would be starting, and that's
I agree with you. Zion out tonight.
Oh God.
Which will bring us to Sir Brandon Boston here at $4,400.
Yeah, I mean that is just like stamp of lock and load right there, right? Because
he was already the second highest rostered player on the slate behind Neemias Queta. That now likely jumps to the highest. But what in the world do the Pelicans have to put on the floor right now?
I mean, they're going to play. Their starting lineup is going to be Alvarado, Boston, Ingram, Messi, and probably JRE or Javonte Green. That would be my guess.
Yeah, Javonte Green probably starts. I would agree with you there.
So we're going to get extended run from JRE. We're going to get extended run from Javonte. They're going to dust off Jamal Cain probably again for like teens minutes. They might dust off Jalen Noel for some minutes as well in the guard spot. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bad situation. New Orleans is already the worst ranked defensive team in terms of defensive rating this year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they stay competitive here unless Ingram goes nuclear.
Does this make like Franz Wagner that much more appealing to you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in a great spot to begin. Like, was in a great spot already. I mean, we've talked about it. He was kind of just getting unlucky. Like the Dallas game, they get blown out. He was well over a fantasy per minute. OKC game, that's the best defense in the league. They get blown out. And then he faces a defense where he can actually score and he goes nuclear.
Right.
That is easily in the cards tonight.
I guess Ingram would be the one to defend him on the wing, but I mean, like Ingram's, not known for his defense. So.
Well, maybe we just who knows because they could go Javante or they can they could depending on who they go because the Magic are using De Silva. They played Anthony Black a bunch of minutes last game, so like there's no like definitive answer. It is interesting, like Franz. We're gonna get to small forward in a second. Obviously, Brandon Boston, because in every scenario, Brandon Boston's playing near 40 minutes, just given what they have, and so I'm very intrigued by Brandon Boston at 44, like the field is. I think he's just kind of plug and play, cash tournaments, whatever. I gotta ask though, John, we could just shift to small forward, right?
Yeah. There was, I think, one other. I think there was
KCP?
one other guy.
Yeah,
KCP who got some early ownership. Again, I think Strother could be interesting if there's no Jamal Murray just as a tournament throw. Isaiah Joe, if he ends up starting again, I think it's worth giving a consideration for. Tim Hardaway, as you mentioned, back-to-back games of 30 minutes for him, a little revenge game against Atlanta.
Yep.
Just as like some value darts. Obviously, Boston far and away now the best value on the board for everybody. So, let's go to small forward though. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm just gonna ask, like flatly. Brandon Ingram is $8,400 in a tough spot. He has Brandon Boston and Jose Alvarado as his running mates. Are we intrigued by Brandon Ingram? Like, is that like, I mean, point guard, small forward. He has the best eligibility possible on DraftKings, and he has a team to himself. Like we've kind of talked about it. Like he played 39 minutes in that Cleveland game. They kept it close. Obviously, Zion was there. Zion smashed in his 30 minutes. But like, there's massive minutes. There's massive shots. Ingram's going to have the ball the entire game. Like, is there a scenario where because the Magic haven't been great without Paolo to begin with?
They're not. They lost a lot. I mean,
and Wendell Carter, two starters.
They lost their good defensive players. Sure, Isaac will be on the floor for 15 minutes tonight. And maybe he draws the Ingram assignment when he's on the floor if those match up. But other than that, like Ingram could be up on De Silva. Taking advantage of those switches and things like that. They. I guess they could throw KCP on Brandon Ingram tonight and have him be the guy that defends, or Gary Harris. Is he even active? I don't even know if Gary Harris is active.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah, it's like those two guys could just take turns like D'ing up Brandon Ingram, but I don't disagree. Like I feel like because they have nobody else, he's got to be on the floor for 40 minutes, win or lose here. So
he's just gonna be like this game will be competitive if Brandon Ingram keeps it competitive. Right? Like Brandon Boston and these guys that we're going to play are fine, but they're not going to be the ones that are keeping this game close. Brandon Ingram is going to have to nuke. Unfortunately, the line is 8. It's also over under of 210, John.
Yeah.
So, that's not like
it wasn't a game I was really looking to get too much exposure to outside of Brandon Boston anyways.
Sure.
And I'm waiting for the updates to come through to see what exactly changes here with this Zion and Booker news. The Booker news is the one that's more appealing because I kind of liked, we liked that Dallas Phoenix game. So, Franz is down here. I like Jalen Williams at $8,100 still. Buckets at 75, in a good spot. I like Michael Porter Jr. tonight. Murray or not, I think Michael Porter Jr. is in a good spot here at $6,300.
Michael Porter is, and I obviously think that there's just naturally more upside if Murray doesn't play, but it's not like Michael Porter's not a big part of what they do anyway. He's their
That's
best
what I'm
floor
saying.
spacer. He's a good rebounder that's going to have more opportunities with Gordon off the floor. So, yeah, I'm perfectly fine if you land on Michael Porter. I think he's super safe at 63.
Our guy Sasha playing over on Yahoo. They use FanDuel scoring over there. So Koulibaly or Ricochet.
I mean, I like the spot better for Koulibaly.
Feels like you're really
Ricochet.
chasing the Ricochet points there.
I mean, you said it last night. Ricochet has obviously been better of late, but one really nuke. Like, I'll go Koulibaly because I think that game environment is just simply better. And, Koulibaly's had one bad game this year. I'm not even in that game. He played 39 minutes. So
Yep.
I'll go Koulibaly.
Okay. Yes, like I said, Michael Porter, even when Murray's on the floor, is at worst their third option. So I'm happy to get. And if you think Bam, shuts down or at least limits any sort of Jokic here tonight, more forces them to pass more, Porter will be the one to deal with that one. Cam the Man says that Triple J ownership going to drop now, possibly.
Well, that probably in correlation to if Devin Booker's ruled out, probably.
Triple J ownership
because then KD will be
KD maybe more
yeah.
And he also liked the Luka KD game stack, which I agree with you. I think would be pretty fun there.
National TV game stack right there. I mean, this is no national TV Rondo, but that would be Luka KD would be super fun.
Yep. Luke Cornett officially ruled out as we expected here. I'll see if any other surprising Celtics news maybe pops. We got Koulibaly, as we mentioned. Bradley Beal dual positional eligibility, the shooting guard small forward at 63. Wells, no one's really talking about Wells today at 59.
I'm out.
Yeah.
It's
he
a
had
little
20 actual last game, so
I'm not saying that he might not get there, but like I don't know what the ceiling is at 59, and like Kennard being back, second game back, we don't know if the minutes will rise there. Potentially Conchar being back will bite into Wells. I'm not saying it's a bad play. I think that there's just better. Like I can play Ben Mathurin for $500 cheaper, or I can play Keyshawn George for $800 cheaper, who took 17 threes in a game. Do I think Keyshawn George is going to take 17 threes every day? No. But I think I would rather probably get to those two guys before Wells.
Anthony, it's not that nobody likes Cleveland. It's just very difficult to understand who is going to be the guy that goes off on a nightly basis there. I mean, Jared Allen has been very consistent. We know what Donnie Mitch can do ceiling-wise. But these guys have also blown out a lot of teams. So we haven't had full minutes sometimes to get the full value out of them. So I think if I was to play Cav tonight, it would probably be Jared Allen if I had to pick one. But they're a good team, as you said. So it's difficult to find. They're not a bad team with one scorer where you're like, hey, Brandon Ingram's a clear guy tonight. TJ McConnell ruled out tonight for the Pacers. We'll certainly have some updated ownership probably for the Pacers as well.
You already know what that means, Johnny. So
Ben Shepherd.
Oh boy,
probably going to get a little extra love tonight.
Okay. Nobody played Ben Shepherd. We are just pointing out that Rick Carlisle loves Ben Shepherd.
Rick Carlisle
loves Ben Shepherd.
We had some early ownership on Jerice Walker that has since kind of subsided, but maybe it comes back here. All right. What else are we doing at small forward then as we work our way down? There is Mathurin, Braun. We talked about OG Anunoby is $5,600. And nobody's playing Milwaukee. Laravia, Keyshawn George, someone we liked just basically because riding the last game out of him there. Some good defensive stat upside with Keyshawn George, but what are we looking to do now?
Yeah, all the guys you just mentioned, you can, if there's no Devin Booker, I mean Royce O'Neal playing mid-20s minutes, could use him as your primary Luka defender as well. I think that makes sense. Tari Eason obviously has a ceiling in tournaments. We don't know like what the minutes are going to be for Tari Eason, but there's always a ceiling. We talked Straw there before. Jarris Walker right here at $3,600. I suspect he is extended. The only problem is like we don't know what that extension is going to be, right? Could it
Right.
be if he goes 7 for 7 again, he's going to play 24 minutes. But if he's not 7 for 7, Rick Carlisle is crazy. Devin Booker is optimistic he'll play Friday.
Yeah.
Is the report we
So
just got.
he's getting some IVs right now, probably dealing with the flu. Do you want to play a flu game, Devin Booker, tonight?
No, he's not Michael. Well, he's not Michael Jordan. So I mean, I don't know. We've seen a lot of people leave.
Him and Luka do have a little rivalry, though. Remember the playoff games?
They do. But then it like was squashed when, if you remember, like that national TV game, they had Booker mic'd up and he like wished well to Luka because Luka had the baby, became a dad. He's like, go.
Yeah.
So is it beef? Is it squashed? Well, I don't know. Either way, probably don't want to play a flu game. Devin Booker probably still want to get to KD because KD's been amazing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else down here. I mean, like, what does New Orleans do? Another like Javonte Green's 43, Jamal Cain's 32. Probably both those guys could be options, but like not exciting options.
You said Javonte was 43?
Yeah, Javonte's 43. Jamal
yeah,
Cain's
right there. Because Tari Eason was getting love, so maybe everything flips to Javonte Green. You get a tournament dart to Tari Eason tonight and see if he can pop off against OKC. Let's talk straw there. And then, you mentioned down here Kane. Let's see. Wade's out. Merrill's questionable. Would you do George?
Wade is Wade out? He went through shoot around this morning.
Did he end up being in? I saw that. Is he questionable?
He went through. I guess he went through shoot around today.
I guess we'll see. I retract my George Niang comment. Power forward. Let's go there. Giannis is 11-2. No one's playing him. He doesn't even project all that well. I don't know what to read into that because initially you and I wanted to play some low roster Giannis, but just not projecting well.
I don't know what the reason he wouldn't project well, because when you look at Giannis as a whole, he always projects well.
Yeah.
He has a different injury today. It's not the same injury that's been bothering him. And he's upgraded from questionable continuously to probable, right? So he's feeling as good as he has, and he's been dominant in every game he's played in but one.
Yeah.
On the second leg of a back-to-back. But he played 40 minutes in that game and scored 30 against Boston, right? He just didn't have the necessarily the peripheral stats. This is a game within your conference that you need to win. He only had to play 30 minutes. I mean, I'm playing 3 lineups tonight. I'm playing Giannis in one of them. I understand projections and I understand but if you can get Giannis in a spot, and I messaged it to you, New York is 20th in defensive rating. And obviously that was in large part due to Boston making 29 threes on opening night. I get it. But the Knicks haven't been impressive in any facet through 7 games.
Towns doesn't play any defense. You take out Mitchell Robinson, who's a shot blocker, and you put in Towns, who is not a defensive player, never has been, never will be. There's no, I mean, he's big, but he's not a good defensive player.
And no Hartenstein, 2 really good interior defenders. And OG is obviously elite. OG is not big enough if Giannis is going downhill. I mean, dude, Hart, if OG's in trouble at all, Josh Hart's gonna it's just a scenario where I understand you can get other stars at similar prices for that aren't on back-to-backs, but we're talking about one of the 5 best players in the world at 5%. And I say this to you all the time, there's nothing stopping Giannis tonight from going for 70 and equaling Jokic, equaling Luka, and you have one of them at 5%. And also his salary allowed you to get up to someone else that went off, right? So I'm going to play Giannis at low ownership in one of my 3 lineups tonight. Is he my favorite spend up? No, I still have Luka above him. I still have Jokic above him, but I will take a shot in terms of in leverage aspects on Giannis if he's going to be single digit ownership.
Right. I agreed 100%. No one's playing Tatum either. Again, we know what he can do and no Jaylen Brown. Obviously didn't get it done last time out, but always has a ceiling. KD, as we've talked about, guys got 30 actual now in like 4 of the last 6. 49, 50 fantasy points in the last 2. If Booker's at all limited or illness or, hey, Franz Wagner tried to play through an illness twice. He came out of halftime both games, right? Like, so that certainly is in the cards at an $8,600 Durant. And then we got the question here from our guy, Anthony. We are big Jalen Johnson fans. He's got a matchup against Detroit tonight. What are we doing? 8,500 Jalen Johnson.
He has a massive ceiling. Largely because he can do everything. He's making threes again. And at the end of the day, in every competitive game, he's playing 38 plus minutes. So no issues getting to Jalen Johnson. He is an elite passer for a big. He's super athletic. I mean, he is going to be 8,500, and we're just going to continue to see that rise throughout the year, right? He's going to be a 9K every night player. And so take advantage of the price.
I agree. Mid-tier options for us here. Jalen Williams, Franz Wagner, we've talked about. Siakam, $7,800. We got Evan Mobley. Jaren Jackson Jr., $7,200. One of our favorite plays of the day earlier today. Ownership-wise, he is still sitting up there among the highest projected rostered players on the slate as well. So, as we know with Triple J, though, I won't say it out loud, but when he's chalky, it doesn't always work out for us.
My sneak peek into the playbook here tonight, John. I started my Jaren Jackson write-up with Jaren Jackson chalk is the most uncomfortable play in the world. Year in, year out.
Nope.
That has not changed. Everything in this spot suggests Jaren Jackson should smash. It's a great matchup. 3 starters are out, including their best 2 offensive players. He's really cheap for Jaren Jackson, team to himself, right? That doesn't mean anything. It just does not mean anything. Has he done better this year at limiting fouls?
Yes. He hasn't had 5 fouls in a game yet. Usually his game logs are full of 5 foul games.
So, I am cautiously optimistic. We've seen this with stars throughout, right? Like Nikola Jokic used to be super foul happy and commit dumb fouls all the time. And players figure it out eventually. It's taken Jaren Jackson a little bit longer. Maybe this is the year. I am totally in on the idea of Jaren Jackson. I am obviously just a little reserved going full bore 100%. I'm playing him in all 3 of my lineups. You're playing 20 lines. You play him in 17 of 20. That's scary. I would he's the second highest projected player of the day, about 30%. That's probably a safe, if I'm playing multiple lineups, 30% is probably where I would sit as well. I would probably be in line with the field in terms of ownership.
I'm not in on Draymond tonight. I know you've mentioned playing him a few times. I just $6,100. I just didn't get there.
Just play Aldama at that price too, who has a shorthanded team. I think Aldama is the safer of him between him and Jaren Jackson. They've essentially been similar, and one guy's $1,100 cheaper.
I mean, on one hand, Anthony's telling us that Cleveland's underrated, the best team, and then he wants to play Draymond against.
Yeah, well, he was talking about playing 4 players in that game earlier, and he wants to stack it. So, I understand in theory, but
and then Booker seems like he may end up suiting up, but Bradley Beal would be the one I would go to immediately. So over there. So Neemias Queta will start as we expected. That's not new news there. Give Triple J a pep talk. Yeah, man. I have some horrific Triple J bad luck stories. Him basically getting 3 fouls in 4 minutes, benched for a whole first half, came back in, immediately picked up 2 fouls in the second half, and my prop was done. So Got Keyshawn, Najee Marshall. We saw play a lot of minutes last time out. Peyton Watson played a lot of minutes last time out. I think Obi Toppin could be sneaky tonight. De Silva, we know, is starting now against who knows what Pelicans team at $4,100. Thoughts on value at power forward tonight?
Value power forward. Alexandre Sarr is interesting at 54.
Really good defensive upside with this guy.
With all the blocks. Yep, really good defensive upside. I would love to see the minutes tick up, but I understand Valanciunas has been really, really good for them off the bench, so it's kind of like limiting what they're doing with Sarr. We talked Keyshawn George. He's great. I don't know how to feel about Peyton Watson here. I mean, they did a good job raising his price. We know he's going to start. We know he's going to play if he can stay out of foul trouble. He's going to play big minutes. Obviously, really good defensively. I prefer him on FanDuel. His price is cheaper on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. And obviously, the block steal upside over there is tremendous. So I prefer him over there. I think Grant Williams is super interesting at $4,300. I don't know what they're going to do with their starting lineup, but I assume Grant Williams probably has the inside track to their starting 4 and then probably plays backup 5, right? He's probably used in both capacities, just given what is available for them. So I really like Grant Williams, 43. He's been about a 0.9 fantasy point per minute player this year without Bridges Richards. So, both those guys not being there, there's 30-minute upside.
And he has, he did it last game. He has shown upside in terms of it being a fantasy point per minute player. We've gotten some big games out of him in the past. And if they just go out there and be like, dude, you got the green light tonight because we need offense. He's also not afraid to go out there and shoot. Nobody is more confident in Grant Williams' abilities than Grant Williams. I'll say that. That guy grew up in the school of Marcus Smart and, thinks he's way better of a basketball player than he is and is not afraid to show it. So you got that. Javonte is down here as well at $4,300.
JRE 30 and JRE at 35. I think that there is potential that JRE is the guy starting. We'll see. He started and then he hasn't. We'll see. But he's played 25, 34, and 26 minutes. It's not obviously the most exciting play, but in 2 of those games, he's given you 20 fantasy points. If you got 20 fantasy points plus out of JRE at 35, that is how you get to Luka.
This isn't an impossible matchup for him to be productive in either. So, again, we got to remember that Orlando is not the Orlando we're used to. Jarace Walker, I know he went 7 for 7. But he was a lottery pick. They have room for him to play. And maybe going 7 for 7, Carlisle looks his way again in this game.
And there's just injuries in front of him. So, no Neesmith, no McConnell. Nembhard is playing, obviously, but there's knee soreness. There's what does he have? He has knee tendonitis that he's playing through. So, they're banged up a little bit. So, yeah, Jarace Walker. They lost Isaiah Jackson. They lost James Wiseman. They don't have a traditional backup center anymore. Yeah, there's definitely minutes to be had for Jarace Walker. I'm good with it in tournaments. We just talked about it. If they go small with Grant, right at the 5, and they go super, and Charlotte goes super small everywhere else. There is a case to be made for Jarace Walker to be on the floor as your backup. They can go Obi Toppin and whatnot, and Siakam at the 5 But there's definitely a case for
center. We go. Jokic, 11-8. Again, around 10, 12%, at least as of now, getting to Nikola Jokic here tonight. 82, 72 fantasy points. He's going to have to, yes, he's dealing with Bam, but this is a different creature that we're talking about here. So I don't know how much that even matters. Talked Giannis already. Towns in that matchup against Milwaukee coming off of a monster game. $8,400. You got Chet and Şengün battling with one another here. What are we doing at center?
Yeah, obviously you want to get to Jokic. I understand Bam is a good defensive player. Also we all saw what he did to Bam in the playoffs 2 years ago in the championship, right? When he just was the best player on
It's a
the
lot of size.
floor,
So.
like he is every
He's
night.
giving up a lot of size to Jokic, is Bam. So
and just body, like Jokic is
well,
just
that's what I'm
in
saying.
massive
Like just
human,
not just height, but
just
like size. Yeah.
just in general, just like So Jokic is obviously elite. I love Towns at low ownership tonight, 50 plus in 3 of his last 4. The minutes are obviously doing Towns very well. He is a guy who commits dumb fouls all the time. So if Giannis is driving, there's obviously concern. But Towns in tournaments is elite. Alperen Şengün, revenge game, John. He was drafted by
Could
the
have been
Oklahoma City
a crazy good
and
team.
then traded. That could have been. That is a very interesting team if Alperen Şengün's there. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little indifferent about Chet Şengün. I think both obviously have crazy high ceilings. I would probably just live in the value tier overall at this position if I'm not spending up. But I think Bam is severely mispriced given what Bam's been doing lately, and 21 shots last game. We can say all we want about Jokic. Jokic isn't a great defender. He's very situationally aware, like very good in the passing lanes, very like sneaky blocks for Jokic all the time. But like Bam is a super good fantasy player, and we've seen that 3 straight games, and his price has dropped since that. So since that point, Bam at 74, and then I'm basically just going to the value tier because I think there's elite value.
I agree with you. I mean, again, I think the Miles Turner is in a good spot. I do like Jared Allen here tonight. Let's see, Brandon Miller and Grant Williams, and we kind of expected that news there. Then the value, right? Under 5K options for us. So Goga starts at 5K, Gafford at 51. Right, those are 2 obvious.
Gafford's 1%, by the way, and I think that is criminally disrespectful because they just blew people out.
Yeah,
and
we just got an ownership update again, and I'll have this for everybody once we're done. JRE, now your second highest rostered player on the slate. Brandon Boston there. Alvarado, big bump up for him, as is Ingram now. Big bump. So everybody pivoting to the Pelicans. We mentioned Green. Let's see. What do we got for? I don't think Green got the same bump that everybody else did here. Green is... nobody's playing Javonte Green. So we'll see. Maybe that changes if he enters the starting lineup. But JRE is now your number 2 behind Neemias Queta. Queta's ownership dropping, obviously, with this news here. So,
I think where JRE has a distinct advantage is that he's power forward center eligible versus Javonte. Javonte's just small forward, so or he's small forward, power forward, and he's $800 more than JRE.
So again, Gafford and Goga are right there. Queta still the highest rostered center on the slate here tonight. I mean, it is Brooklyn. Like Nick Claxton's playing, Ben Simmons is playing. Like, does that worry you at all in Neemias Queta tonight?
Yeah, I prefer Beef Stew to Queta, but I think Queta's fine. But it's like you and I talked about it. There's nothing that is definite about Neemias Queta like game to game, just because that's Joe Mazzulla, right? Like tonight, Joe Mazzulla could just run Horford out because Brooklyn's playing Dorian Finney-Smith at the 4 and Sam Hauser's out there, or Tatum's playing more at the 4 and they have Pritchard. Like there's multiple routes that Boston can take. I am in on Isaiah Stewart at 4,300 more than I am Neemias Queta personally. That I am getting to more Stewart than I am Queta, but I think if you end up on Queta, it's fine. I don't think it's a bad play at all. I just think there's more vulnerability with Queta than
and if you're in on Isaiah Stewart, I mean, again, another guy that does have a history of foul trouble. Paul Reed has the pivot off of him. We expect him to at least be the backup center today. Could easily just be a straight time split in minutes as well if they go in that direction. He's $3,600. No one's playing Paul Reed today. Again, dart throw, he could easily just play 15 minutes and watch Stewart play the 26. And I didn't even see this comment, but yeah, Paul Reed as the pivot, I think is an interesting tournament play. Again, nobody is on him, and even less are on him now because JRE has the dual positional eligibility at $100 cheaper. So your chalk 35% playing James Robinson Earl tonight.
I think James Robinson Earl is the actor.
Right? Well, okay, I didn't even realize.
You said James.
Yeah, Jerome. Yeah,
I think it's Jerome. I think it's Jerome Robinson Earl. I think
no,
James Robinson Earl. That's the actor, right? He's like James Earl Jones. Sorry,
mixing up a lot of names.
Names here. Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Also, we're just 0 for here. Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
Doesn't make us look great, but I promise you, no.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from the 3,500 if he's in the starting lineup, JRE. So, I am definitely intrigued there. I suspect in terms of the Stewart Reed stuff, I would assume Isaiah Stewart is on the strong end of the split. Like if they were to chop 48 minutes, I would assume it's like 30-18 in favor of Stewart and 18 for Paul Reed. That would be my guess, but you aren't wrong when you talk about Isaiah Stewart foul trouble. So I like Isaiah Stewart at 43. I understand the Paul Reed pivot, but also with Robinson Earl 3,500, I'd probably just go there over Paul Reed, unless you're just playing a lot of lineups. But in single entry, I'm just playing.
I agree with you. Giannis will play as we expected today. Nembhard also in. I didn't know we were waiting on that. Beal's in.
He has knee tendonitis. So he's been just listed on the injury report every day. I mean, we're gonna probably have games where Nembhard.
So do we plug JRE in here at center?
I think the flexibility at forward allows us to use him either power forward or in our forward spot. Because I really like all the value centers. Like I would like to play a Goga or a Stewart or a Queta or
Stewart,
one of those guys.
Draymond game time decision, by the way, there, Anthony. So Gary Trent ruled out tonight. I know we went off of Jackson, but Trent is out. AJ Green, maybe someone that's going to benefit from that now.
Yeah, he surely will. What is it going to be? Is it going to be like, 18 minutes? Yeah. Is it going to be 22 minutes? It's probably not for me on like a bigger slate, but I get it. He's making every shot he takes. So in theory, like he definitely has a good chance of being.
Probably go Matherin as well, right?
Probably go Matherin for sure. And so probably means
all right. We can do 2 spend ups.
I mean, I am definitely intrigued by if we want to play Jokic or Luka. I think it's a definite let's use one of them. I don't know what your lean is, but I would I think
you can go Luka Giannis with 4,800 to play for a guard utility. Or you could even just play both of this 4,500 for a power forward and a guard. Actually, for 40, because JRE can obviously play power forward, guard forward, 4,500 piece. We know there's value here. So is Stewart even a forward eligible? No,
yeah, on FanDuel he's power forward eligible. Grant at 43. And then it's just, 47. And again, this is just if we're deciding on the double spend. Yeah. Because like if we went like Jaren Jackson or something at forward I mean, we'd have such a nice balanced lineup here, like Scottie Pippen or Ingram. Yeah, I mean, even
Right.
Ingram. Yeah,
Sharon Jackson Ingram and a $5,200 Keyshawn Gafford.
yeah, Keyshawn. Yeah, Goga,
Do you have
Gafford,
a
Keyshawn.
preference?
Those three. I mean, I don't know. Like you and I have a sheet that I've highlighted Goga's name like
Yeah.
6 times today
I
because
know.
no one's playing him, and
I
so
just
like
worry if they're going JRE at center, like Goga doesn't see the floor. They just go small.
yeah, but Mo Wagner is not like going small. I mean,
Well, Wagner
Indiana.
stretches the floor
Miles
a bit
Turner
more.
spends the whole. Well, think about like the last 2 games. Chet Holmgren and Miles Turner. They just shoot. Like they shoot all game long from perimeter or slash all game long. Like I'm not against not playing Goga. I'm just saying I have just found myself getting to Goga Bitadze a lot
I
today.
like Durant anyways tonight, honestly, even if Booker plays. But obviously, if no
Agreed.
Booker, Durant would jump into one of my favorite plays of the day. So this is a bit of a fair and balanced lineup. We're obviously eating some chalk here for sure. But Luka's 10%. So if your difference maker on this chalk lineup is Luka, yeah, I'm fine with that. Right? Like, no problem with that being the difference maker here. So example lineup for everybody. Luka, Boston, Mathurin, Robinson Earl, Stewart, Ingram, Jackson Jr., and Goga Bitadze with $200 left over. I'll get the updated roster posted up over at Fantasy Alarm as soon as we go off air here. So, and then we'll make sure we continue to monitor the news throughout the night for everybody. If you have any questions, get us on Discord. You can scan that QR code right up there on the top of the screen. 7-day free trial going on. That gets you access to our Discord. If you enter promo code Let's Go when you sign up, that first month after your 7-day free trial is less than $20. That includes all premium content. It's not just NBA DFS content, but everything on site, NFL included, for free for 7 days. So scan that QR code or go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Enter promo code Let's Go when you sign up for that first month to be less than $20. James and I will be back on Monday. You know where to find us for your questions. Good luck tonight, everybody. We'll talk to you later.